Welcome to a journey through one of the most intricate and mysterious worlds ever created in gaming. Tonight, we explore the lands between, a realm of gods and demigods, of golden grace and terrible ambition, of a world shattered by war and waiting for someone to piece it back together. This is the story of Elden Ring. Before we begin, settle in and relax. This is a tale that spans ages, from the time before time, through golden ages of prosperity, and into the chaos of the shattering. We'll explore ancient mysteries, tragic heroes, and the nature of godhood itself. Let the story wash over you as we unravel the threads of this magnificent tapestry. Our story begins not with the present, but with the distant past, in an age when the world was very different from what it would become. Long before the golden earth tree stretched its branches across the sky, the lands between existed in a different form. This was an age ruled by different powers, different gods, and different laws of nature. In this ancient time, the world knew the influence of the Greater Will, an outer god of immense power that would shape the destiny of the lands between for ages to come. But the Greater Will was not alone. Many outer gods cast their gaze upon this realm, each seeking to impose their own order, their own vision upon reality itself. Among the earliest powers were the dragons. These magnificent beings, scaled in stone and wielding ancient lightning, ruled from the great city of Farum Azula, a place that existed outside of time itself. The dragons were more than mere beasts. They were intelligent, powerful, and in their own way, divine. Their leader was Dragonlord Placidusax, an immense creature with multiple heads, who served as Elden Lord in an age before the Erdtree even existed. Placidusax awaited the return of his god, a deity whose identity remains shrouded in mystery. But that god never returned, and Farum Azula began its slow decline, crumbling piece by piece as it drifted through time and space. In these early days, the lands also knew the influence of the crucible, the primordial form of the Erdtree. The crucible was wild and chaotic, a wellspring of life energy that blended all living things together. From the crucible came beings with mixed features, creatures bearing horns, wings, and tails. A time when the boundaries between species were not yet firmly drawn. This was life in its most raw and unrefined form. The servants of the crucible, knights who would later be remembered with both honor and shame, protected this primordial power. But the age of the crucible would not last forever. Change was coming to the lands between. The Greater Will had chosen a vessel, a means by which it would impose its perfect order upon the world. That vessel was the Elden Ring itself, a manifestation of the fundamental laws of reality, the very source code of existence in the lands between. And to serve as the keeper of this Elden Ring, the Greater Will chose an Empyrean, a being capable of hosting a god. Her name was Marika, and she would transform the world entirely. Queen Marika the Eternal began her rise from mysterious origins. She was of the Numen, a race of people who came from beyond the lands between, though the details of her early life remain obscure. What we know is that Marika was chosen by the Greater Will to become a vessel for the Elden Ring, to become a god and establish a new age. But Marika's path to godhood was not peaceful. It was paved with war and conquest. The most significant conflict of Marika's rise was her war against the fire giants of the mountaintops. These massive beings tended the flame of ruin, a fire that had the power to burn the Erdtree itself. The fire giants represented a threat to the new order Marika sought to establish, and so she waged a brutal campaign against them. The war was devastating. Marika showed no mercy. One by one, the fire giants fell until only a single survivor remained, cursed to tend the flame for eternity, ensuring it would never die but never be used. This lone giant would be imprisoned upon the mountain, a living monument to Marika's victory and ruthlessness. With the fire giants defeated, Marika established her new order. The Erdtree grew, its golden boughs spreading across the sky, visible from every corner of the lands between. This was not merely a tree, but a cosmic structure, a manifestation of the greater will's power and the physical embodiment of the Golden Order itself. The Golden Order was a philosophy as much as a religion. It was founded on the principle of perfect causality, of an existence without true death. Souls would return to the Erdtree upon death, only to be born again in an eternal cycle. It was an age of prosperity and stability, where the laws of reality themselves had been refined and perfected. To enforce this order and to stand beside her as Elden Lord, Marika chose a champion named Godfrey, the first Elden Lord. Godfrey was a warrior of immense power and nobility, bearing the surname Haru, with his trusted companion, Sarosh the Beast Regent, who clung to his back to temper his savage bloodlust. Godfrey led Marika's armies in conquest after conquest. Together, Marika and Godfrey had children. These offspring were demigods, beings of incredible power born of a god and her consort. The most prominent among them were Godwyn the Golden, a prince beloved by all, and Morgott and Mog, twin brothers, born with the curse of the Omen. The Omen were beings born with horns and grotesque features, considered cursed by the Golden Order. In the new age of refinement and perfection that Marika had established, such primordial traits from the age of the crucible were seen as impure. That two of Marika's own children bore this curse was a source of great shame, and both Morgott and Mog were hidden away beneath the capital, shackled in darkness. But Godfrey would not remain Elden Lord forever. After defeating the last of Marika's enemies, after the Storm Lord fell and the giants were vanquished, Godfrey found that his purpose had been exhausted. The grace of gold, the blessing of the Erdtree that marked those destined for greatness, faded from his eyes. Marika banished Godfrey and his warriors, stripping them of their grace and casting them out of the lands between. They became the first of the tarnished warriors, without grace, condemned to wander foreign lands until death claimed them. Godfrey took the name Haralu once more and departed, carrying with him the weight of exile. With Godfrey gone, Marika took a new consort, and this choice would prove to be one of the most significant decisions in the history of the lands between. She turned to a champion of the Academy, a powerful sorcerer and hero named Radagon of the Golden Order. But Radagon was not simply another consort. Radagon was Marika herself, or rather, they were two halves of the same being, two personalities inhabiting the same divine form. How this came to be remains one of the great mysteries of the lands between. But the truth was hidden from all but a select few. Before joining with Marika completely, Radagon had been married to Renala, the queen of the full moon and head of the Academy of Raya Lucaria. Together, Radagon and Renala had 3 children: Radon, a warrior of immense strength who idolized Godfrey; Rykard, who would become the lord of Volcano Manor; and Rani, an Empyrean, who would chart her own dark course. When Radagon left Renala to join with Marika in the capital, he left behind a broken queen, lost in grief and obsession with the amber egg he gifted her, an artifact of rebirth. Together, or perhaps alone as one being, Marika and Radagon had 2 more children, Melania and Michaela, twins both born as Empyreans. But these children were cursed. Melania was afflicted with the scarlet rot, a terrible plague that slowly consumed her body. Michaela was cursed with eternal childhood, never able to grow or age, despite his godlike wisdom and power. For a time, the Golden Order stood strong. The Erdtree blessed the land with golden leaves of grace. The capital city of Lindell shone like a beacon of civilization. The demigods ruled over various regions, each carving out their own domains and pursuing their own interests, while still nominally serving the Golden Order. But perfection cannot last forever. Doubt had begun to creep into Marika's heart, questions about the greater will, about the true nature of the Golden Order, and about her own role as God. These doubts would set in motion events that would tear the world apart. The turning point came on a night that would be remembered with horror and confusion. A night when the impossible occurred, and death came for one who was thought immortal. This was the night of Black Knives, when assassins struck at the very heart of the Golden Order. The target was Godwyn the Golden, the firstborn son of Marika and Godfrey, beloved by all who knew him. Godwyn embodied everything noble about the Golden Order. He was a friend to the ancient dragons, having befriended Fortisax after wars between dragons and the Golden Order had ended. He was kind, just, and powerful. In many ways, he represented the future of the lands between. But on this night, assassins came for him, wielding weapons imbued with a fragment of the Rune of Death itself. The Rune of Death requires explanation. When Marika established the Golden Order, she removed the Rune of Death from the Elden Ring and gave it to her shadow, Malekith, to guard. This act was what made the Golden Order's cycle of rebirth possible. Without true death, souls would return to the Erdtree. But it also meant that the natural order had been violated, that something fundamental had been taken away. The assassins who came for Godwyn were Newman, like Marika herself, led by a woman whose blade would earn her infamy. They had somehow obtained fragments of the Rune of Death, stealing them from Malekith's carefully guarded charge. Their black knives were imbued with this stolen death. But the Night of Black Knives was more complex than a simple assassination. On the same night, in a distant rise, another death occurred, though this one was only half a death. Ranni the Witch, daughter of Radagon and Rennala, orchestrated her own demise, or rather, the demise of her body, in a ritual of incredible complexity and daring. Ranni arranged for her physical form to die while her soul would persist, bound to a doll's body. This allowed her to escape the destiny that had been laid out for her as an Empyrean, to slip free from the influence of her two fingers and the greater will. The two deaths were connected. Godwyn's soul died while his body lived on, corrupting into something terrible. Ranni's body died while her soul lived on, free but forever separated from her original form. Two halves of death, split between two demigods. The murder of Godwyn shattered the world. Marika, driven to rage and despair by the death of her beloved son, could no longer maintain her faith in the Golden Order. In an act that would define the age to come, she took up her hammer and shattered the Elden Ring itself. The ring broke, its great runes scattering, each one claimed by one of the demigods. The laws of reality fractured. The age of stability ended, replaced by chaos and war. Radagon, the other half of Marika's being, attempted to repair the Elden Ring, but the damage was done. For her crime, Marika was imprisoned within the Erdtree, crucified upon the rune arc itself, held in eternal punishment by the greater will, while Radagon desperately tried to mend what she had broken. The stage was set for the shattering, a war that would consume the lands between and leave it in ruins. With the Elden Ring shattered and its great runes scattered among the demigods, each of Marika's children claimed a fragment of ultimate power. These runes granted them incredible abilities, but also twisted them, amplifying their nature and their ambitions. What followed was a war unlike any other, a conflict between gods that tore the land apart. General Radahn, the mighty son of Radagon, claimed a great rune and became one of the most fearsome warriors in history. Even as a child, Radahn had idolized Godfrey and trained to become a warrior of equal legend. He mastered gravity magic, not for conquest, but for a touching reason, so that his beloved horse, Leonard, could continue to carry him even as Radahn grew to gigantic proportions. During the shattering, Radahn proved himself in battle after battle. His greatest moment came when he faced the stars themselves. Using his mastery of gravity, Radahn held back the very stars in the sky, freezing them in place. This act had consequences beyond mere spectacle, as the movement of stars was tied to the fates of many in the lands between, particularly Ranni and the Carrion royal family. But Radahn's glory would not last. In a battle against his half-sister Malenia, both demigods would be forever changed. Malenia, the blade of Miquella, was perhaps the most tragic of all the demigods. Born cursed with the scarlet rot, she had never known defeat in battle, despite fighting with a body that was slowly being consumed. She wore a golden prosthetic arm and legs, crafted for her by her brother Miquella, and wielded a blade with unmatched skill. Melania fought for her brother above all else. Miquella, cursed with eternal childhood despite his godlike wisdom, had worked tirelessly to find a cure for his sister's affliction. He had even grown a new Erd tree, the Halleck tree, attempting to create something pure and free from the greater will's influence where his sister could find peace. When Melania marched to war against Radahn in the region of Caelid, the battle was cataclysmic. Two of the greatest warriors in history clashed, and neither could overcome the other. In desperation, Melania did something she had never done before. She abandoned her pride and unleashed the scarlet rot fully, blooming into the goddess of rot itself. The explosion of rot devastated Caelid, transforming it from a land of green into a festering swamp of corruption. Radahn was infected with the scarlet rot, which began to eat away at his mind and body. Melania fell into a coma from the effort and was carried back to the Halleck tree by her loyal knight, Finley, in a journey that would become legendary. Neither demigod could claim victory. Radahn was reduced to a mindless beast, wandering the wasteland of Caelid and feeding on corpses, held in a terrible state between life and death. Melania slept at the roots of the Halleck tree, waiting for her brother to return. But Miquella would not return, for he had his own fate to meet. While his sister fought, Miquella had discovered something terrible about the Golden Order. He realized that his curse could never be cured within the current order of the world. More than that, he saw that the Golden Order itself was flawed, incomplete, unable to provide the perfect world it promised. So Miquella made a choice that would horrify those who loved him. He divested himself of everything: his love, his doubt, his body, even his great rune. He climbed into the heart of his Halleck tree and allowed himself to be taken by Mog, Lord of Blood. Mog, one of the twin Omen's sons of Marika and Godfrey, had long been imprisoned beneath Lindel, but he had found a new purpose, becoming a servant of the Formless Mother, an outer god of blood. Mog established his own dynasty in a hidden palace, the Mogwin dynasty, and he had become obsessed with Miquella, wishing to make the young god his consort and elevate them both to true godhood. Mog stole Miquella's cocoon and brought it to his palace, where he attempted to use Miquella for his own ascension. But Miquella had his own plans that would unfold in ways even the wisest could not predict. Morgott, Mog's twin brother, took a very different path. Despite being an Omen, despite being hidden and shackled, Morgott loved the Golden Order that had rejected him. When the shattering came and Lindel needed a defender, Morgott took up the role secretly, calling himself the Veiled Monarch and later Margit the Fell-Omen. Morgott defended the capital against all comers, turning away demigod after demigod who sought to enter the Erd tree and claim the title of Elden Lord. He did this not for himself, for he believed himself unworthy, but out of loyalty to the order that had cursed him. It was a tragic devotion, defending a system that had caused him nothing but suffering. Praetor Rykard, meanwhile, had taken a darker path. The Lord of Volcano Manor had discovered something in the depths of Mount Gelmir, an ancient serpent of immense power. In his ambition and his hatred for the Golden Order, Rykard had himself devoured by the serpent, merging with it to become a blasphemous god, devouring entity. From Volcano Manor, Rykard gathered those who opposed the Golden Order, creating a family of outcasts and assassins who hunted tarnished and demigods alike. His goal was simple: to devour the gods themselves and end the age of the Erd tree through sheer consuming power. And what of Franny, who had sparked the Night of Black Knives? She had retreated to her rise, served by loyal followers, enacting a plan that spanned years. Ranni sought to end the age of the Greater Will entirely, to usher in an age of stars where the outer gods would have no influence over the lands between. She worked in secret, gathering pieces for a ritual that would allow her to ascend as a god on her own terms, free from the Two Fingers and the Greater Will. The war raged on, year after year, until there were no true victors, only survivors clinging to their fragments of power in a ruined world. As the shattering war dragged on without resolution, the lands between fell into decay. The Golden Age had ended, replaced by something far darker. Let us travel through this broken world and see what it has become. We begin in Limgrave, the starting region for many travelers. Once green and prosperous, it has become a land of wandering soldiers and monsters. Stormvale Castle dominates the landscape, now ruled by Godric, the Grafted, perhaps the most pathetic of all who claim demigod blood. Godric was a distant descendant of the Golden lineage, so far removed from Godfrey that his divine blood ran thin. Weak and cowardly, Godric had fled from the capital during the shattering, even disguising himself as a woman to escape notice. But he had discovered a grotesque way to gain power: grafting. Godric began attaching the body parts of his defeated enemies to his own flesh, creating a hideous amalgamation of limbs and heads, dozens of arms grafted onto his torso. In his delusion, he believed this made him strong, that he was restoring the glory of the Golden lineage. In truth, he had become a monster, a tyrant ruling over Stormvale and capturing Tarnished to add to his collection of parts. North of Limgrave lies Liurnia of the Lakes, a land dominated by the Academy of Raya Lucaria. The Academy had once been a center of glintstone sorcery, ruled by Queen Renala. But Renala had been broken by Radagon's departure. She sat in the Academy's grand library, cradling the amber egg he had left her, surrounded by her students, who had been reborn so many times they had lost their minds. The Academy itself had turned inward, its scholars obsessed with glintstone and the stars, heedless of the chaos outside their walls. They had sealed themselves away, and the lands around the lakes had become wild, filled with creatures and magic run amok. High above, the Carrion Manor stood as a monument to Ranni's family. Here, her loyal followers waited, and here she continued her mysterious work, seeking those who might aid her in her cosmic plan. To the east lies Khalid, the Scarlet Rod's domain. This land had been utterly transformed by Melinia's bloom. What had once been green was now a hellscape of red and decay. The very air was poisonous. Monstrous creatures spawned from the rot wandered freely. In the heart of this nightmare, Radon still wandered, now a mindless beast, while his loyal soldiers, and even his beloved horse Leonard, refused to abandon him. A festival was held periodically in Khalid, where warriors would gather to give Radon an honorable death, to free him from his torment, but none had yet succeeded in putting down the mighty demigod, even in his reduced state. South of Khalid lay the Weeping Peninsula, a land of minor castles and perpetual sadness. Further south still, across a perilous divine bridge, stood Castle Morn, where rebellion had occurred, and an artifact of great power, the grafted blade greatsword, was kept. West from Limgrave, one would find the Weeping Peninsula's northern areas. But traveling northwest would take you toward the Academy, and eventually to Mount Gelmir, where Rykard's Volcano Manor sat atop a mountain of corpses and lava. The manor itself was a place of dark elegance, where Rykard's family of assassins lived and worked. They hunted specific targets, and those who joined them were treated with genuine warmth and respect. A twisted family built on murder and blasphemy. Deep beneath the manor, Rykard himself waited, merged with the god-devouring serpent, growing larger with each person and god he consumed. North of Liurnia, past the moonlight altar and through hidden paths, one could reach the mountaintops of the giants. This frozen wasteland was where Marika had waged her war against the fire giants long ago. Now it was nearly empty, guarded by memories of old battles and treacherous terrain. The last fire giant remained at the Forge of the Giants, cursed to guard the flame that could burn the Erdtree, unable to die, unable to be free. Beyond even the mountaintops lay crumbling Farum, Azula, the ancient dragon city floating in a storm outside of time itself. Here, the ruins of dragon civilization crumbled eternally, and here Malekith guarded the destined death, the rune of death that Marika had entrusted to him, unaware that fragments had already been stolen. And at the center of everything stood Lindell, the royal capital. The Golden City was still magnificent despite the years of war, its walls strong, its buildings gleaming. But it was a city under siege from within and without. Morgoth held it against all comers. But he was alone, a king in all but name, defending a goddess who was imprisoned and an order that was broken. Beneath Lindel lay the subterranean shunning grounds, a labyrinth of sewers and catacombs where the most cursed aspects of the Golden Order were hidden. Here the Omen were born and often killed. Here the Dung Eater carried out his horrific work, defiling corpses with a curse that would last for generations. And deeper still lay the frenzied Flame, an outer god of chaos that sought not to rule the world, but to burn it all away, to melt everything into one indistinguishable mass, hidden from most eyes, accessible only through secret means, lay Mogwyn Palace, where Mog had created his dynasty of blood. And similarly hidden was the Helite Tree, Miquella's creation, a place of unalloyed gold and unfulfilled promise, where Melania slept and awaited her brother's return. This was the state of the lands between, broken, cursed, and waiting. The demigods had fought themselves to exhaustion. The great runes were claimed but unused, for none could enter the Erdtree to actually become Elden Lord. The world was at an impasse, slowly dying, but the greater will was not done with the lands between. It had a plan for this broken world, and that plan involved the Tarnished. After the shattering, after the war had ground to a stalemate, the Greater Will enacted its contingency plan. The grace that had been taken from the eyes of Godfrey and his warriors, that golden light that marked the chosen, suddenly returned. The Tarnished, dead in foreign lands, began to awaken. They rose from death with a singular purpose, called by grace itself, guided by a light only they could see. These lights would point the way forward, leading them toward sites of grace, where they could rest and grow stronger. The message was clear: journey to the lands between. Seek the Elden Ring, become Elden Lord. But who were these Tarnished? They came from many backgrounds. Some had been warriors in life, soldiers who fought and died in distant lands. Others had been scholars, merchants, or simple folk. What united them was that they had once known grace and lost it, exiled from the lands between, and now were being called back to fulfill a purpose. Among the Tarnished were notable figures, each with their own approach to the task ahead. Goldmask was a prophet, a seeker of perfect order. He stood motionless for long periods, contemplating the nature of the Golden Order, seeking to understand its flaws and perfect its philosophy. He spoke not in words, but in gestures, and his goal was to create a new mending rune that would repair the Golden Order's fundamental problems. Fia was a deathbed companion, one who offered comfort to the dying and could mingle with those who live in death. Her goal was to give Godwyn, whose corrupted body had become the source of undeath, spreading through the lands between, a proper ending. She sought to create a mending rune of the Death Prince, to allow those who live in death to exist within the Order rather than being persecuted. The Dung Eater, whose true name is best left unspoken, sought something far darker. He defiled corpses with seedbed curses, creating offspring that would be cursed for generations. His goal was to curse every living being, to spread this curse across all of the lands between so that everyone would be cursed and suffering would be universal. It was an act of pure malevolence. Gideon of Nir, the all-knowing, presented himself as a scholar and guide to other Tarnished. He gathered knowledge of the demigods and the lands between, sharing information with those who sought it. But Gideon had discovered something that shook him. He had come to believe that Queen Marika actually intended for the Tarnished to struggle eternally, to fight forever without resolution. He concluded that the only correct course was to ensure no Tarnished ever became Elden Lord. And then there was the player character, the Tarnished of no renown, who awakens in a crypt outside the lands between, with nothing but the clothes on their back and the guidance of grace in their eyes. This particular Tarnished was special in one way. They had Torrent, the spectral steed who could only be summoned by one chosen by the former owner, Ranni's loyal companion Melina. Or rather, Melina would offer Torrent to the Tarnished when they met. Melina is a mysterious figure, a woman without a body who can appear to the tarnished at sights of grace. She offers an accord. She will serve as their maiden, turning their collected runes into strength if they will escort her to the Erdtree. She has a purpose there, a destiny she must fulfill, though she is reluctant to speak of it. There are hints that Melina is connected to Marika in some way, possibly even a daughter, and that she carries within her a terrible purpose to become kindling for the flame that will burn the Erdtree if the Tarnished cannot find another way inside. The path forward for the Tarnished is daunting. To become Elden Lord, one must first gather the great runes from the demigods. Then, one must find a way to enter the Erdtree itself, which has been sealed. And finally, one must face whatever lies inside, repair the Elden Ring, and claim the title of Elden Lord. But there are other paths, other endings possible. Ranni offers an alternative, a chance to free the world from the greater will entirely. The frenzied flame offers another, the destruction of everything, a return to primordial chaos. And there are those who seek to mend the ring in different ways, creating different ages based on different philosophies. The journey would take the Tarnished through every corner of the lands between, facing each demigod in turn, uncovering secrets buried deep, and ultimately making choices that would determine the fate of the world. Let us walk the path the Tarnished might take, seeing the world through their eyes as they journey toward their destiny. The journey typically begins in Limgrave, where the Tarnished emerges into a world of golden grass and dangerous enemies. Early on, they encounter Var, a servant of Mog who mockingly calls them maidenless and suggests they will die alone and unloved. It is an inauspicious beginning, but the Tarnished presses forward, fighting through wandering nobles, soldiers, and beasts, until they reach the first step, a site of grace where Melina appears for the first time. She offers her accord, and the journey truly begins. Stormvale Castle looms ahead, but it is not the only path. The Tarnished can explore, finding caves and catacombs, mini-dungeons, filled with unique bosses and rewards. They can venture south to the Weeping Peninsula, clearing out castles and helping or hindering various NPCs they encounter. Eventually, most Tarnished make their way to Stormvale, passing through its grand gates, fighting through the castle's defenders, and facing Margit, the fell omen at the castle's entrance. This battle is often where Tarnished first understand the challenge. Margit is relentless powerful and guards the way with deadly commitment. But Margit can be defeated, and beyond him lies Godric, the Grafted, in his throne room. The battle with Godric is spectacular and horrifying, as he grafts a dragon's head to his arm midway through the fight. But for all his bluster about the glory of the golden lineage, Godric falls, and the Tarnished claims their first great rune. With Godric's rune in hand, the path to Liurnia opens. The Tarnished emerges from Stormvale to find a vast lake stretching before them. With the Academy of Raya Lucaria rising in the distance, this land is filled with sorcerers, hostile mages, and the mysteries of the Glintstone Scholars. To enter the Academy, one needs a key, a Glintstone key held by a dragon. After claiming it, the Tarnished enters the Academy and makes their way through its halls, facing scholars who have lost their minds in pursuit of knowledge. At the top, in the Grand Library, they find Renala, still cradling her amber egg, protected by her students. The battle with Renala is strange, as she seems almost helpless until the second phase, when the egg's power manifests and she demonstrates why she was once considered Queen of the Full Moon. But she too falls. Though unlike other demigods, she is allowed to live, returning to her melancholy vigil in the library. It is in Liurnia that the Tarnished might encounter Ranni properly for the first time, at her rise. If they choose to serve her, a long and complex questline opens up, taking them to find a hidden treasure in Nokron, the Eternal City, a place that exists deep underground. To reach Nokron, the Tarnished must travel to Caelid and participate in the festival for Radahn. The festival gathers great warriors from across the lands between. all seeking to give the Star Scourge an honorable death. The battle with Radon is unlike any other. He fights from horseback, with Leonard somehow still carrying him despite his massive size. Radon shoots arrows the size of spears, summons meteorites from the sky, and in his final phase, launches himself into space, only to come crashing down like a meteor himself. It is a battle of epic proportions, a fitting end for a legendary general. When Radon finally falls, his death releases his hold on the stars. They begin to move once more, and somewhere in Liurnia, a massive star falls, creating a crater that opens the way to Nokron below. In the Eternal City, the Tarnished finds ruins of an ancient civilization that once stood against the Greater Will. Here they can find the Fingerslayer blade for Ranni, an item that will allow her to slay her two fingers and free herself from the Greater Will's influence. But the journey is far from over. The Tarnished must venture through the Altus Plateau, a highlands region accessible either through a great lift or a dangerous ravine. Here, minor Erdtrees grow, and the influence of the capital can be felt. Eventually, the path leads to Lindell itself. To enter, one typically needs 2 great runes, proving their worth. The city is magnificent, with golden streets and grand architecture, but it is also filled with powerful enemies and challenges. Deep in the capital, the Tarnished faces Morgott, revealing that Margit and the Veiled Monarch were the same person all along. Morgott, despite his curse, despite everything, fights to defend the capital and the Erdtree with every ounce of his being. When he falls, his final words are of loyalty and sorrow, calling out to Marika, to his fellow demigods, accepting that he was never meant to be anything more than an omen. With Morgott defeated, the way to the Erdtree is clear, but the entrance is sealed with thorns. These thorns cannot be removed by ordinary means. To burn them away, one must seek the Forge of the Giants and use the Flame of Ruin. The journey to the mountaintops is treacherous, through a land of endless snow and ancient ruins. At the Forge, the Tarnished faces a choice. Melina offers to become the Kindling herself, to sacrifice her body to light the flame that will burn the Erdtree's thorns. But there is another way. Deep beneath Lindell, in the subterranean shunning grounds, lies the frenzied flame. If the Tarnished seeks it out, strips themselves bare, and opens a hidden door, they can be embraced by the 3 fingers and inherit the frenzied flame. This power can burn the thorns without Melina's sacrifice, but at a terrible cost, the Tarnished becomes committed to an ending of chaos, where all life will burn together. If Melina sacrifices herself, or if the Tarnished takes the frenzied flame, the giant's flame is kindled. From space, one could see the forge light up, a beam of fire shooting toward the Erdtree, setting it ablaze. The tree burns, and the way inside opens at last. But the world does not remain static. With the Erdtree burning, Lindell transforms into the Ashen capital, buried in ash and attacked by a force from outside, the dragon Grandsax returning as an ancient weapon. The capital is in its death throes, a shadow of its former glory. The Tarnished must venture back to find the path inside the Erdtree, and when they do, they face the final challenges. First is Godfrey himself, returned as Horaluk, no longer restrained, fighting with his bare hands in a glorious final battle. The first Elden Lord gives everything he has, and it is a battle between 2 warriors without tricks or deception. Simply strength against strength. Beyond Godfrey lies the final confrontation. The Tarnished enters the heart of the Erdtree to find Radagon waiting. He is the loyal consort determined to protect Marika and repair the Elden Ring. The battle is fierce, with Radagon wielding holy magic and a mighty hammer. But when Radagon falls, the truth is revealed. His body transforms, and from it emerges the Elden Beast, the living embodiment of the Elden Ring itself. The Greater Will's envoy, this cosmic entity is the true final challenge. A god, like being of pure light and power. If the Tarnished can overcome even this, they stand before the shattered Elden Ring with the power to reshape the world. At the end of their journey, having overcome every demigod, having burned the Erdtree and defeated the Elden Beast itself, the Tarnished faces a choice that will determine the future of the lands between. The default path is to mend the Elden Ring and become Elden Lord. This is the straightforward ending, restoring the Golden Order essentially as it was, though perhaps with the Tarnished's own influence shaping its future. The Tarnished claims the throne, and the age continues, a new Elden Lord for a restored order. But there are variations on this ending, depending on which mending runes the Tarnished has acquired during their journey. If they completed Goldmask's questline, they can use the mending rune of Perfect Order. This creates a golden order free from the fickleness of gods, where the laws of causality are perfected and divine whim no longer has power. It is an age of absolute order, for better or worse. If they helped Fia and obtained the mending rune of the Death Prince, they can create an age where those who live in death are accepted within the order, where death is no longer shunned but embraced as part of the natural cycle, with Godwyn as a sort of deity of death. If they completed the Dung Eater's horrific quest and obtained his mending rune of the Fell Curse, they condemn the world to an age of curses, where every being born will carry a terrible curse, where suffering becomes universal and eternal. These endings all involve mending the ring in different ways, creating variations of the Golden Order with different philosophies. But there are more radical alternatives. If the Tarnished served Ranni and completed her questline, helping her slay her 2 fingers and ascending to godhood, they can summon her at the end. Instead of mending the ring, Ranni takes it and ushers in the Age of Stars. In this ending, Ranni removes the Elden Ring and all the outer gods' influence far from the lands between, taking it to the stars where it can no longer directly control the world. She offers the Tarnished to join her on this 1,000-year journey into the dark of night, leaving the world free but uncertain. If the Tarnished accepted the frenzied flame, their ending is the most destructive. Instead of mending anything, they burn it all. The Lord of Frenzied Flame doesn't repair the world, but rather melts everything into one, destroying all distinction, all suffering by destroying existence itself. It is an ending of nihilistic chaos, where everything returns to the primordial state before separation. Melina, if she survived, swears vengeance, promising to hunt the Tarnished and deliver destined death to them. Each ending represents a different philosophy, a different answer to the question of what should be done with a broken world. Should it be repaired and made to work better? Should it be freed from the influence of gods entirely? Should it be destroyed so something new can begin? Or should it simply be ended, all suffering concluded through annihilation? There is no clear right answer, and the game doesn't judge the player's choice. Each ending has its own merits and its own costs. The Tarnished makes their choice, and the age that follows reflects that decision. And so we reach the end of our journey through the lands between, though the story of Elden Ring is one that continues to reveal new layers with each examination. We've traveled from the age before the Erdtree, through Marika's conquest, and the establishment of the Golden Order, through the tragedy of the Night of Black Knives and the Shattering War, to the arrival of the Tarnished and the many possible futures they might create. This is a story about cycles, about ages that rise and fall, about the nature of divinity, and whether perfect order is possible, or even desirable. It is about children suffering for their parents' ambitions, about loyalty to broken systems, about the price of power and the meaning of grace. Every character in this tale is tragic in their own way. Marika, who achieved godhood only to realize its cost and rebel against it. Radagon, trying desperately to repair what his other self destroyed. Godfrey, the noble warrior cast aside when he was no longer needed. Godwyn, the Golden Prince murdered in his prime. Melina, fighting with a body that is betraying her. Miquella, whose wisdom couldn't save his sister or himself. Ranni, who killed herself to be free. Morgoth, loyal to an order that despised him. Mo, cursed and turning to forbidden gods. Radahn, reduced to a beast. Rykard, consumed by his own ambition. And even Godric, Pathetic though he is, desperately trying to prove himself worthy of his lineage, the Tarnished walks through the aftermath of all these tragedies, and in the end, must decide what to make of them, what meaning to draw from the ruins. The Lands Between is a world that has known many ages, many cycles of rise and fall. The dragons had their time, the crucible had its age, the Earth Tree brought the Golden Order, and now that too has shattered. What comes next is uncertain, but the cycle will likely continue in some form, because that is the nature of these lands, always changing, always seeking something better, always falling short, and always beginning again. This has been the story of Elden Ring, of the Lands Between, of gods and demigods, of grace and ambition, of the Tarnished who would be Elden Lord. May you find your own meaning in these tales, and may your rest tonight be peaceful as you contemplate the mysteries of this remarkable world.